Hey guys, I am Big and Scary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our top left hand corner TTemChiron, our blue Terran, and in our bottom right we have Team Echo's Crowbar, our red Zerg. If you guys watched the last video, Crowbar played a very low econ, heavy aggression style Zerg, but that was versus Protoss, and that was under rather extraneous situations. So we're going to see if TTemChiron, who I'm going to go with Tim for him. I'm going to go with Tim. Is he going to be just as rambunctious as our previous Protoss, or will he give Crowbar a chance to show off a more traditional build? Only time will tell. And when it comes to Terran, is there such a thing as traditional? I mean, is there? You've got all sorts of different openings. You've got the 1 racks fast expand, straight into mech, straight into starport, straight into bio, and there's so many different types of bio. There's bio with a heavy starport play, bio with a heavy mech play. There's a bio with a more bio on top of that because you've got ghosts or maybe some marauders mixed in. It really is endless. Terran is definitely the most diverse of all the races. I think Zerg being, the one that's very fast to react, but Terran, man, what's there to react to? There's just so many different ways that they can come at you. Crowbar, though, it looks like he's going to be playing a little bit more normal. Just normal. He's got the 200 minerals necessary for the spawning pool. However, it looks like he's sitting that first drone out, wants to go hatch first. It's going to be arriving at the exact same time as that SCV, and the SCV indeed gets the block off, which has got to be just befuddling Crowbar. However, lightning fast reflexes, throws down immediately the spawning pool because he knows he's going to be wasting some time playing catch with that SCV. Little does that SCV know that it has indeed blocked that hatchery, but only for around 50 minerals now because that spawning pool succeeded in throwing down itself, spin the minerals for something else. And that's fine. It's still traditional timing, 15 for 15. And immediately the drone production gets underway. We're at 16 supply right now. Will there be an overlord shortly? There is one en route. Speaking of an expansion, though, we can see the command centers being thrown down by Tim, down by the natural expansion from him. Have I mentioned that this is Ohana? Because you guys got to know that this is Ohana. It's a beautiful map, and it's also very easily defended by Terran. I've seen some weird placement for the bunkers before, though. Traditionally, you'd see it up here. However, every now and then I've seen it here, and lately it's very much in vogue to throw it right here next to the mineral lines so that it's very hard to get a surround on it, and also the command center's within range. Only problem with that is if it's got roaches, you can come over here on the right side, but command centers can fly, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. First 4 Zerglings are out on the field right now. Looks like that SCV's not going to survive to make its way home. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, there it goes. Awesome, and those Zerglings are going to be poking at the front door, but there goes the awkward placement for the bunker in the top left, and these Marines are not going to have an issue with dealing with the 4 Zerglings just going to be poking at the front door. Not a big deal at all. I think Tim's going to be in a pretty good position right now to take his natural expansion. Those Zerglings are not long for the world, pulling back. See, the resources lost tab are actually pretty much neck and neck, but with that 1 SCV going down and then the 2 Zerglings equaling around 50 supply or 50 minerals. First queen is out, second queen will be popping back at the natural for Crowbar. Still no gas just yet, which leads me to believe that he's going to be taking a third. He's actually saved up almost 300 minerals again, and I'm expecting every single drone that I see, I expect him to leave and go over to the third to throw down that hatchery. It would be rather aggressive as far as macro orientation is concerned, and that would be totally different from what we saw from Crowbar in the previous game, but I think he's just going to be showing off his range. I strongly believe that he's going to be taking the third shortly. What with his inability to stop the expansion from Tim, he's got to know that with Terran on 2 base, Crowbar's going to get behind a little bit, and he needs to get an advantage one way or another, and that advantage could take the form of higher tech, which we don't see because he still hasn't grabbed any gas, or more likely an economic advantage. And we can see his drone mass is currently at critical. He needs to either expand or he needs to poop or get off the pot, basically. Third command center being built by Tim. We can see that the factory is taking advantage of the reactor that was made by the barracks. Some reactor Hellions coming out on the field, and a tech lab being added on to the barracks just to get those much needed upgrades to those Marines. Hey, 4 gas in quick succession, as well as a drone leaving. Is this going to be an expansion? Only Only time will tell. It does appear to be an expansion. I mean, he's got the money, and he's shortly going to have the gas income, which is kind of weird. Usually you see the hatchery go down well before this timing, and well before the gas gets grabbed. I wonder what all this gas is going to be used for. We need to see some tech buildings being thrown down shortly. 2 Evo chambers, that'll definitely eat up some gas, and it also shows us that Crowbar is indeed going to be playing for the late game. If the third doesn't key you in on that, I'll tell you, the 2 Evo chambers, even though they're aggressively positioned to make kind of a choke so that he can deal with the Hellions that will be coming out on the field to do that sort of harassment, they're also there to make it so that he can have some spore crawlers up in case he's going to be dealing with some banshees later on, some cloak banshees, or it also allows him to throw down some extra gas. I mean, he's got quite a lot of gas right now. He's just blew the first 100 on the metabolic boost. We're at the 8-minute mark. What? But that's because he hasn't been harvesting gas at all. 52 harvesters. All that money that could be gas is instead minerals, and all those minerals have been made into drones. He's got a huge economic lead right now, but one that Tim is very, very aggressively shortening that lead. And it looks like he's going to be transitioning from a macro style build of himself into this, which is going to be a very heavy bio play coming out of Terran. He's got 3 more barracks being built. That tech lab is going to be finishing up. Combat shields. Combat shield before stem means that there's not going to be an aggressive timing attack. The only harassment that we're going to see out of Tim for a little while is going to be those Hellions. Stem's going to be started pretty much instantly after combat shield is done. I'm expecting to see it up on the production tab any second now, because that will be the really big limiter of when this push out can happen. The starport is underway, so we're going to see some medevacs, but I don't think we're going to see any drops until stem is actually done. The Hellions have made their presence known and making their way down. Looks like they're going to get a free queen kill because there's not a lot of units out on the field right now. Speed just now finishing for the Zerglings. Are going to be pushing in just a moment too late to save that queen. Oh man. And they're not going to be able to get a surround on these Hellions. Those Hellions, 1 or 2 of them going down, but they're proving to be very cost effective against so many Zergs. Look at that. Resources lost, 806 over 350. How do you get 6 resources lost? Probably a cancel somewhere. I think you use like 7. Those 2 Evo chambers, though, going to town on upgrades. You've got the +1 weapons, +1 armor. Those Zerglings are going to be a little bit more devastating to the decreased number of Hellions out on the field. I think Tim's going to have to retreat and rely more heavily on the Bioforce that's going to be coming out of him shortly to protect the third that he wants to take in a couple of seconds. The orbital command's probably going to lift off shortly. Another 3 barracks being added on. Stem still not started out of Tim. I wonder what he's waiting for. He's got 3 more reactors coming down. It's not. I honestly don't know why he's waiting this long. It's probably just a blunder. I'm probably reading too much into it. Medevacs are out on the field because the stem's taking so long. I wouldn't be surprised that Tim pushes out with inferior force, not waiting for that stem, which would be a mistake. You could do something with the drops, but again, stem is just so very, very powerful. Spire is done. Crowbar is going to be spending that excess gas income. He's got 6 geysers going strongly right now for 9 mutalisks coming out. That's almost 1,000 gas blown into the air, and the mutalisks are going to be so powerful with harassment, so powerful in dealing with drops, catching those medevacs whenever they come out and overextend themselves, crushing them, as well as making their way into these super saturated mineral lines and just crushing them. However, Tim showing you that he's a Masters level player too. He's got those missile turrets already up to protect his probe line, partially from the scouting of the overlords, but more primarily this, those mutalisks, which are beginning to collect over on the left side of the map. It looks like they're going to be pushing up northwise, maybe get 1 or 2 volleys off before they get driven away by the missile turret. Not going to be so successful on hits to the economy. More successful will be this scouting run, which he sees that second factory going down for those siege tanks to be used in conjunction with this heavy marine force. Look at all of those reactors, and all those reactors could tell you that it's going to be a ridiculous number of marines, which means we need more banelings. A lot of banelings pushing up northwise into the third, and it looks like they're going to be making their way all the way into this mineral line. Oh my goodness, massive hits on that saturation. Looks like 2 of those banelings survived, making their way down. 1 more massive hit. On the same time of things, the mutalisks have been driven away. 1 or 2 of them probably went down to the Marines that had arrived to actually protect the infrastructure back at home, but because of the supporting units back at home, the Zerglings have had free range at the third, and the third has completely gone down. The mutalisks being caught by a couple of those Marines, but man, if Tim had Stim, those Marines could have just taken out all of those Mutalisks in one go. But Stim it's not done. He's still got to hold 50 seconds before he is out on the field, and Crowbar is being very effective with those Mutalisks. I also like how, despite the fact that he's being very effective with them, he's not constantly creating them. He's not making any more of them, because Mutalisks are very much a one-and-done unit. You get them out once, and you tech switch. And he's tech switching to Infestors, which is a fantastic play. Infestors are going to be incredibly potent with the heavy bundles of joy that the Marines make up. You throw down 1 or 2 fungal growths, and all of a sudden you have just a mass of dead bodies. In conjunction with the upgrades that the Zerglings are already benefiting from, the +1 armor, which will be +2 armor in just a couple of seconds, as well as the Baneling speed that's out on the field. This is going to be an intimidating unit composition that Crowbar is going to be fielding very shortly, and it's also going to be very mobile. Those Zerglings are going to be taking advantage of the fact that Ohana is a very wide open map, and Tim is going to be very hemmed in, and will feel very exposed shortly. It looks like that front door is getting knocked down. Those Banelings doing a massive amounts of damage to the small number of Marines in that area. But the Marines are basically just trickles right now. He wants to engage this large group of Marines, but it looks like the Banelings instead are going to be pushing into the mineral line at the main, getting 1 or 2 hits off, but the Marines with their stim finally done will be pushing in. Wow, look at those hits. I just pointed at the screen. You guys can't see that, but you can see this. Workers killed tab 33. Tim, oof, his stim is now done, but where are the medevacs to heal them? I guess they're over here by the third, protecting that one remaining in mining installation. The secondary, the natural has taken quite a bit of damage, and the main has been ravaged. There's not much there at all. And look at that, Hive finishing up for Crowbar. He's finally teched as high as you possibly go. Will that Spire turn into a greater Spire? Will we see that beautiful Infestor and Broodlord composition that's so incredibly popular right now? Lord knows, we've got 6 Infestors on the way, and he's doing enough damage with just the Zerglings that he doesn't even need Broodlords. It looks like he's going Ultralisks, which again is going to take advantage of the fact that he's got +3 weapons on the way and +3 ground armor. Some Zerglings have been caught off guard, hoping to drag the Marines into creep so that they can get a very nice surround. Remember, all those Infestors are out on the field right now, and these Zerglings have to be very, very careful because those Marines are completely upgraded. There goes the push in, there goes the stim. Man, what? Tim doing a fantastic job splitting up all his Marines. We need to go back there at the 1750 mark. We're going to. 1745 is when that split happened, and it was freaking incredible. Keeping all those Marines should have died from those Baneling hits. There wasn't a lot of Banelings, but there was enough to do some massive damage, and Tim definitely mitigated it. Unfortunately for him, Crowbar is very good at macro as well as micro, and he's re-macroed his force to the point where he can easily deal with the stragglers left alive by that initial push. So many Zerglings are still alive. These Zerglings are very, very, very well upgraded. Look at this. 2-2, almost 3-3 in just a couple of seconds, and they're really just buying time for the Ultralisks to come out. We do have 8 Infestors out on the field right now, and they are collecting over by these Zerglings. Zerglings rush in, take a bunch of damage. Infestors push in, do a bunch of damage, and ultimately you just buy time for the Ultralisks that will be popping out on the field momentarily. And look at this economy. I mean, we got the 4th up, 5th in route, and another gas geyser to boot, and the 3rd for Tim is the only economic thing that he's got going on right now. Yeah, his natural, his main are still mining, but the main has not been resaturated. He's only mining off of 1 geyser with 1 gas. He needs to make something happen, and he needs a big win right now, and he doesn't have the force for it. These siege tanks are not supported by enough Marines, and they're going to get chewed alive as soon as he pushes out onto this creep. Here he is on the creep. There goes a small stim up onto the high ground to see exactly what's protecting this 4th. Crowbar doesn't even need to defend it, but it looks like he is pushing in with a bunch of Zerglings, a little bit overextending themselves past the Infestors. The first Ultralisk is out on the field with its 4 armor, taking quite a bit of damage from those Marines, and another nice split from Tim. It looks like this entire installation is going to go down. A nice win there for Tim, but he needs to repeat it 3 times to get back into this game. And as things are now, Crowbar, he's maxed out 199 over 150. He's going to begin to bank army and bank minerals so that he can re-macro his army very, very quickly. Small drop is coming out from Tim, moving off down to the bottom left corner. At the same time, a very large army from Crowbar will be pushing up into the third, and we'll be meeting up with all the reinforcements that were due to support the returning army from Tim. Speaking of returning army, the Ultralisks have found their bag of goodies and just going to town on all of those Marines, doing quite a lot of damage. Fantastic fungal on that group. Yes, the drop is very successful. Yes, the drop is doing quite a lot of damage, but Tim just lost a fantastic amount of money. And man, he's got to be hurting right now. He does not have the economy. He doesn't have the money to support those types of heavy losses that he just sustained. Crowbar does. Crowbar's got the economy. He's got 58 drones spread across 4 different bases. Probably only 3 mining at this time. His main is probably completely mined out, but he's got the map control. He can take back that 4th, no problem at all. This is what Tim needs to be doing. There are these drops, and he needs to make them more successful than they're currently being, because he needs to commit more. He needs to move out 2 Marines at 2 medevacs at one time, and try to attack in 2 different locations, because Ultralisks are not as mobile as Zerglings. The added beefiness of the army added by the Ultralisks comes at the cost of mobility. And what Crowbar wants to do now is force the large engagements that Tim wished he had a short time ago. Those Ultralisks aren't going to have a problem with this siege line. The Zerglings are going to be able to close the distance very, very quickly. And I think Crowbar can commit to a major frontal assault right now and come out as a winner, especially as he's taking that 5th, especially as his harvester count, again, is in the lead. I mean, he's got a very, very good economy, and he can afford to waste a bunch of money putting up static defenses to protect his 3rd. He's going to be putting it up over at his 4th, getting a spore crawler there, some spine crawlers too. That medevac's totally empty, so he doesn't really have to worry about a drop there at all. 4th being taken by Tim, but that's because he has to do it, not because he wants to do it. He's running out of mineral patches at both his main and his natural, and eventually his economy is going to get completely mined out. And when that happens, he's going to be becoming increasingly desperate. Tim currently pretty desperate as things are, because you've got to be desperate if you think you can go toe-to-toe with this many Ultralisks. 2 scans, 1 to reveal Crowbar's army, 1 to reveal Tim's. Manages to take down the creep tumor there, but again, the siege tanks are rather exposed right now. If these Ultralisks decide to push, they are not going to be long for this world. Big stem from the Marines pushing down to take out this hatchery, but with no saturation there, the amount of losses that Crowbar will be sustaining are minimal. The Ultralisks turning, and with some nice support from the Infestors, are going to be doing quite a lot of damage to the Bio Ball. The number of Marines and Marauders out in the field are very small right now. However, the siege tank line is very intimidating. Even with this number of Ultralisks, they're going to be taking quite a lot of damage. It looks like Crowbar has had enough, and he's switching over to the money composition of Broodlord Infestors. However, not a lot of Zerglings on the field to protect those Broodlords. Those Ultralisks need to get in a much better position to protect them, because a quick stem from the Marines could have picked them off completely. However, Tim did not want to commit with the small number of forces he still had. A fungal growth will hold those Marauders in place to allow those Broodlords to push them down. Really, Crowbar is going to begin a very slow and methodical push forward, slowly taking out all of those siege tanks until the number of siege tanks is less enough that the Ultralisks can just overrun them. Tim, realizing what's happening, pushing forward with a very small number of Marines he has left in the form of anti-air, doing a little bit of damage to one of the Broodlords, but not nearly enough. Really, this is Tim's last hope here. He needs to move in, but move in with what? Those Marauders can't fire up to deal with those Broodlords, and the siege tanks will be doing quite a lot of damage to the Ultralisks, but frankly, Crowbar needs to lose them because he needs more supply to get up those Broodlords. Corruptors are out on the field right now, and they're tanking a bunch of the anti-air damage supported by the Vikings. All of a sudden, Tim has nothing. And as far as a standing army to defend himself, 30 Marines and 4 Marauders, not nearly enough to deal with Ultralisk, Broodlords, and Corruptors. Right now, Crowbar can just sit back, twiddle his thumbs, and realize that he's got 100% map control. Oh no, this hatchery is completely gone down because I missed a total drop. Oh, Tim, doing a fantastic job there, taking my advice, doing a multi-pronged drop with the harassment in the top left corner as my eye was fixed on the fight. It looks like Tim pushed down into the 4th with 2 medevacs, dropping a bunch of Marines. Really nice positioning there. making it so that the Zerglings could not get the surround. However, once the Ultralisks arrived, I think he realized that playtime was over. He needs to retreat. Oh, and finding a very nice, another nice little corner. If those Marines and Marauders had enough time, they'd be able to take down the Greater Spire, maybe even the Cavern, to prevent those tier 3 units. But as things are now, those Broodlords really couldn't get back into the action fast enough, and they're probably going to be making their presence known over on the 4th. Tim needs to hold this expansion, but he really doesn't have much to hold it. What army he does have is out of position back at home, and he doesn't want to push off into the middle of the field because he's wary of those Broodlords, he's wary of those Infestors. Hey, speaking of Infestors, oh my goodness, oh, my heart. Oh my goodness, so many Marines just dead. And right there, that can just show you how heartbreaking this matchup is. Tim does such a good job with his splits, even now splitting up his units because he realizes that the AoE was there, but he didn't know those Infestors were there. He saw those Zerglings, he thought it was just a run-by. He didn't expect those Infestors to be able to throw down those that fungal growth just when it did, and man, Crowbar's reactions were absolutely top drawer there. The perfect timing. Absolute perfect timing. And with that, Tim loses his 4th, loses his only hope to get back into this game. Crowbar's economy is actually looking pretty grim, also 35 for 500 mineral income, but that's because his main and natural are totally mined out. His 3rd is the only one that's remaining to be mining, but he does have a 4th and a 5th being built, and he'll get all of his harvesters back to work very, very quickly. So even though his numbers might not be looking the most stellar in the world, you've got to realize that Crowbar just ran out at his 3rd. His natural and main are totally mined out. He has 0 income right now. 0. And this sort of play is not going to last very long against Crowbar, who has some massive, massive map control. +2 on the way. Tim just needs to scan right here, see this unit composition, and realize that this game is over. Very, very well done for both players. What was it, the 1440 something mark? 1514 for that split up. It was absolutely phenomenal. Going ×3 just for a second so we can see the back and forth. It might have been 15, but it happened right around here. Crowbar, just incredible. It was great. The change up from the previous battle, which had the very low econ build, to this one, which is a very high econ build. Some fantastic tech decisions switching up to the Banelings when you did, once you scouted that there were so many reactors on the barracks, and you knew that this sort of unit composition was supported by tanks is what to expect. And then Tim, this right here, this play with the splits. There goes the stem, there goes the splits, and all those Banelings connecting. If they had connected on all those Marines whenever they were bundled up, every single one of them would have died. And as things are now, you mitigated a instant lose to, you could maintain your pressure, and you did. And you pushed up with your Marines, you did another stem, and you did a little damage over here at the 4th. You got repelled, but that's because fungals are incredibly good. And Crowbar is very, very good with his fungals. Not because you did anything wrong. That was a very good play, and you should be proud of it. Speaking of being proud of it, Crowbar, I'm proud of you. The reactions up here with that money fungal was just top drawer. And like I said with the Mutalisks, you know how to use them properly. They're not a unit that you waste a bunch of money on. You use them once to do some really nice harassment, and then you use them to the best of your abilities, but you don't replace them. So, yeah. You know what else is irreplaceable? You guys. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.